Question. Why is someone, for example, like me, is not self-aware or conscious in the identity realm, somewhere doing something or learning or whatever, before that person takes embodiment on this planet? Why is someone not conscious or self-aware about other past embodiments on this planet or other planets when that person takes embodiment here? Well, to understand the background, I have said that the material world we live in is made out of energy. And energy has different levels of vibration. So there's a spectrum of energies that make up what I call the physical world, where we have our physical bodies and things, toasters and pigs and whatever. And there are other levels of vibration in the material realm. There's the emotional, mental, and identity level. And the highest is the identity. It also applies to our psychology, where at the highest level of our outer minds, we have our sense of identity, who we are. It can be nationality, sex, race, religion, whatever. Then at the mental level, we have a sense of what we can do, and at the emotional level, we have our feelings. So the person is asking, if I understand the question correctly, why aren't we aware of our identity minds when we take embodiment? And this simply depends on our level of consciousness. I've talked about, in one of my breakthrough videos, there are 144 levels of consciousness. So as we are walking the spiritual path, we are raising our level of consciousness. We are climbing higher on this ladder of the 144 levels. And we can say that at the lower levels, I don't want to put any numbers on it because we don't need to confuse things. At the lower levels, you see people that are completely focused on their physical bodies. And you can see many people in the world. They are focused on their physical bodies, their outer situation. They have emotions, of course, but they're not really aware of them. And they're certainly not aware that they could do something to change their emotions. Then you have another group of people who are at a higher level of consciousness. They are focused on their feelings. Everything in their lives revolves about their feelings. They either want to feel good or they want to avoid feeling bad. So they're very focused on the emotional level. Then you have another level of people at a higher level. They are what you would call intellectuals, thinking people. They're very focused at the mental level, always trying to figure out how things work, coming up with theories, ideologies, and this and that. Many of them are, for example, scientists or teachers or whatever. So then you have a higher level, you have a group of people who are more focused on the identity level. And these are really, many of those are spiritual people. Not all of them are open to the spiritual side of life, but many spiritual people, they have over lifetimes raised their consciousness to the point where they are now focused at the identity level. And that's why they are open to this idea that I'm not a physical being. I'm not my physical body. My consciousness is not a result of the processes in the brain, because I have a soul or an identity that's beyond the physical body. I'm even beyond my emotions, my thoughts. So who am I? And then you can come to be aware I'm a spiritual being. I'm a spiritual being who came from the spiritual realm. I have a higher self there, and I have descended and taken embodiment, meaning I am more than not only the physical body, but also the outer mind and personality. And that's really how you make progress on the spiritual path. So I'm not saying that all people who find the spiritual path are at that level, but I'm saying that most of the people who are aware of the identity level, they are spiritual people because they're looking for a higher understanding of who we are or what kind of beings we are. So they're the ones who are open to this, what some non-dual teachers call self-inquiry. Who am I? I prefer to say, what am I? What kind of being am I? So then you can become open to that I am a spiritual being, meaning I have a higher self. I have a spiritual self, an I am presence that resides in the spiritual realm, but I'm also out of a lineage of spiritual beings, the Ascended Masters, that reaches all the way to the Creator. So to me, why is a person not aware of this in this lifetime? Just because you haven't developed that awareness in previous lifetimes. But that doesn't mean you can't do it in this lifetime. You obviously, the whole purpose of taking embodiment is not that you come in at a certain level and you exit at the same level. The purpose is you come in at a certain level, you transcend it by finding a spiritual teaching and doing a spiritual practice, walking a path. So if the person is able to ask the question, why am I not self-aware or conscious in the identity realm? Well, you obviously have the potential to become self-aware at that level in this lifetime, otherwise you wouldn't even ask the question. Now, in terms of past embodiments, why are we not aware of past embodiments? Well, basically because it would be too overwhelming for us to be aware of this. It's not the only reason. There are also certain pitfalls of being aware of it. But you just think about it. I mean, you come into embodiment, you're born in a certain family, in a certain country, in a certain environment, and in the first many years of your life, I mean, you're just trying to find your bearings in your environment. You're trying to figure out how am I going to navigate this environment I'm in. And if you had an awareness of hundreds of past lifetimes where you were this person living in that culture or that person living here, how confusing would that be? How overwhelming would that be? I know that some children at a very early age, they have awareness of their last lifetime. I also know a few people on the spiritual path who have had past lifetimes revealed to them, or at least they feel they have. Whether they have or not is another discussion. But but the main reason, as I said, is that it would be overwhelming and very confusing for us. You could also say that another reason is that we are getting a chance to start to have a new beginning. So let's say you had a very difficult embodiment in your last lifetime. And if you remembered that maybe you made a big mistake, or maybe you were exposed to some really traumatic events, you could still feel guilt or shame or anger over what happened to you. But now, since you don't remember it, you do come in with a psychology you had in your last lifetime, but you don't have the remembrance of the concrete outer things. So just to give a practical example, you could say, let's say somebody killed you in your last lifetime. And you are aware of this, but now that person who killed you is now your father in this lifetime. And now you're thinking, I'm going to take revenge on him. And you dedicate your whole life to taking revenge on your father rather than moving on with life. It's just a silly example, but I'm just saying you can see how knowing about past lives could be really a burden. The other aspect of it is, let's say you're a famous person who had great accomplishments in your last lifetime. So one thing is you could feel very proud and arrogant about it because you were this special person. But the other thing is that if you're born in a normal family this time, you could feel deprived. You could feel, why on earth am I not famous? Why is nobody listening to me? I incidentally had that part of my childhood. And so, again, if you don't know the specifics, at least you're not as focused on the outer things that happened. You can focus more on the psychology. And personally, I absolutely know that I have lived before. And I have a few vague senses of where I've been, but I don't have any concrete past lifetime. You were this person in that particular time and situation. I don't have that. And it's really because I don't want it. I've always said to the Ascended Masters, if you want me to know about certain past lifetimes so I can learn something about it, then I'm open to having that exposed to me, but I'm not asking for it because I just think, the way I look at it is, I'm in my past lifetime, I'm in my present lifetime now. And it doesn't matter what happened in the past. What matters is, how do I move forward from here? My motto for many years has been, from this point forward, from any point forward, wherever you find yourself, how can I move forward? You don't look to the past. You don't think back to, oh, this shouldn't have happened to me 1,000 years ago. Why did I make that mistake 2,500 years ago? I mean, who needs it? And I have met many people on the spiritual path who want to learn about their past lives. But they all want to have a positive lifetime where there was someone important. Well, how likely is it on a difficult planet like this that we've only had positive lifetimes where we were important or famous people? How likely is that? So we have all experienced very difficult lifetimes, and I personally feel let bygones be bygones and let's move on. So I don't know if that really answers the question, other than to say that I think it's a better opportunity for growth that we can start afresh in each lifetime than if we knew about all the things that have happened in the past. I mean, what comes to me is the picture of my father, who, till his dying day, the conversations we had before I left for America in 1987, we would have some conversations late at night, and to his dying day, he was talking about what happened in his childhood. And it was like, for him, his early childhood was like this golden paradise, but then at some point when he was 10 or 12, something bad happened in school with the teachers, and his life fundamentally changed from there, where he was always looking back to the past. And he literally often said, I was born 50 years too late. And I fundamentally don't have that attitude. I am not looking towards the past. What does it matter? And what does it matter what happened 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago? What does it matter what happened 5 minutes ago? It's in the past. I can't change the past. It's a matter of moving on from where I'm at, from this point forward.